let's get started. I'm using some tools from Polymer Clay TV. That's a border cutter. These are our round detailed floral stamp set. They come in 6, and this is the Plum Blossom plunger cutter. I'm also using Pebeo Fantasy prism paints, and I've got 3 different colors for the flowers. I've got some Primo accents in antique gold and Sculpey Soufflé in Cowboy, which is a nice brown color. I'm rolling the clay to a number 2 after conditioning, and I'm just going to cut out with the border cutter because this is going to form the bottom edges of my jewelry links. So you just press it in, pull it off, and now I'm going to use a blade. Well, after I cut these apart with my blade, which your clay blade should be part of your basic toolkit, and you can get those pretty much everywhere polymer clay is sold. So I'm just using a regular flat blade to get some little tag-like, I guess they look like tags, hang tags, and I'm just going to press into them 3 different designs from the round detailed floral stamp set and press them in pretty firmly, and you get like a texture look, and that's what I like about these stamps because they're not too deep and they produce a really nice textury background. So I'm just going to trim these up into a shape that I like for creating a jewelry link just by cutting off about halfway up the circle design and discarding the rest of the clay. Now I'm working on a tile. I'm also going to bake on the same tile. And this is really just a matter of eyeballing and deciding how big you want your jewelry links to be. Now I use an etch and pearl, which is a Sculpey tool, my favorite tool for poking holes because it makes a nice sort of larger hole because I tend to use larger jump rings to hold things together. So I'm going to make a hole at each corner, upper corner of these links. And that's for later, for stringing together your jewelry, however you're going to make it. I always make sure that I've got holes before baking. And now you can plunger cut the design of this flower into your clay. So I'm plunging it, releasing it. It depends on the warmth and humidity and what kind of surface you're using. On my tile, these are tending to stick down right to the tile, so I don't have to pop them out of the plunger. But if I did, these plunger cutters are awesome, and they just come right out because you can pop it out using the tool. You don't have to use your fingers. But it is March, and it is Maryland, and it's cold here, so my clay is not super sticky as it would be if it were warmer out like summer. So just remove it from the surface, and I'm going to just stick it on there. This is like step 1. You're just creating the links so that you can bake them. And these clays are designed to go together, so you don't have to really mash it down. Just put it on there, make sure it's stuck, press gently, and then you can bake. Just removing the excess from the tile. And take a look at them before you bake them. See if there's enough variety. See how it's not like stuck on there like super strongly. I'm just picking them up and turning them a little bit to make sure that they're going to look good. Okay, now these are baked. So bake it for your 30 minutes. And I'm going to use some Inca Gold to highlight the bottom edge and some of that texture. So the baking process is over at this point. They're all baked and ready to decorate. Inca Gold is great. It's a wax-based product that dries pretty much instantly when you rub it on. So I'm just using it to put some green into the backgrounds and around the edges. And then it's water-based, so you can just dunk your finger in a little cup of water on your desk and wipe it off. And you can go back and add more and just keep working with the Inca Gold until you have the results that you like. And now we're going to start working with the Pebeo Fantasy paint. This is a solvent-based paint. It requires stirring because there are mica particles in it that tend to settle to the bottom. So I'm just using a popsicle stick right now to stir it up until all the mica is incorporated back into the paint. And it takes a minute or two just to get it flowing and get the mica off the bottom of the jar. These paints go on after baking. Do not bake these paints. They're not made to go in the oven, and the best I can say is that if you try to bake them, you'll probably get unexpected and undesired results, such as color shifting or bubbling. They're just not made to be heated like that. So they do like to go on thick because they have special effects. This prism paint looks like honeycombs or like little cells. It's kind of got a biological effect. So I'm dribbling it on here rather thickly, about 1/8 of an inch thick. I mean, I wouldn't get too mathematical with it, but you definitely want a thick layer, not a really super thin one. So I'm just making sure that the top of my flower is getting nice and filled with the paint. And then I'm going to take a toothpick and drag the paint around, make sure it's going all the way out to the edge and covering all the spots I want it to cover, because sometimes the popsicle stick is too big and you can't get into the detailed spots like you want to. So just using the toothpick to make sure that it's all good. And now I'm going to use another color. I was going to use 3 colors here. This is cherry red. Cherry red, vermilion, and buttercup are my 3 favorite sort of warm colors. I would say the cherry red, which I'm using right now, is a cool red, but it's a really pretty red color. So again, stir the paint. You don't want to shake it because it'll get bubbly, and it takes a lot longer to shake the mica into the paint than it does to just stir it. So I just buy big things of popsicle sticks at the craft store. They don't cost that much, and you can reuse them because the paint will dry, and then you just can use the same sticks for the same colors or whatever. So again, dragging the paint, making sure the layer's nice and thick, get your toothpick and do your details. Now this paint is solvent based, so it's got a tiny bit of smell to it, I would say, but it's not going to hurt you, and most people don't find that they need any kind of ventilation. It's such a small bottle of paint. And you're not going to want to leave the bottles open because they will dry out. So you just use what you're using and move on and close up your jars and you'll be fine. I'm using a 3rd color here, the butterscotch, or buttercup. It's called buttercup, like a flower. And some of them settle more than others. I find that the vermilion, the mica in the vermilion settles a lot more. It's just because each paint is a little bit different in its chemical makeup to make it have the special effect. Another thing about these Pebeo paints is that you can't mix colors to get your own new colors. The colors are what they are in the jars, and there's like 18 or 26 colors. It depends on which fantasy you're working with. I'm working with Pebeo Fantasy Prism only in this project, but there's also Fantasy Moon, which has a different kind of special effect. This one's going to look like a honeycomb when it's done, and Moon is kind of like gentle swirlies. I like the dramatic effect of the Pebeo Prism a lot a lot better. It's just my preference because it makes these big cell areas that you'll see after it starts to dry. Now you're going to need to let these sit for 24 hours before messing with them again because the paint has solvents in it that need to cure out, kind of like polymer clay does, but they cure in the air. You can also embed things in the paint before it dries. I've waited a few minutes to let the paint start setting, and I'm using my favorite homemade tool, which is an unsharpened pencil with fun tack on the end of it, and I use that for setting rhinestones. So I'm just going to pick where I want it to go and use a toothpick to press it down and release it from the fun tack. And then just, stick it into place, decide where you want it to be. And those are obviously going to be centers of my flowers, so I want them to sit in the center. The paint likes to push things around, so you might want to set your stones down and then come back to it. Make sure that it hasn't floated away. I'm just looking for a color that's going to stand out against the vermilion. And then you're going to let these dry overnight before attaching any jewelry parts to them. And then it takes 2 to 10 days for the paint to completely, totally, fully dry. It depends on humidity, temperature. I would say after your 24 hours, you're pretty good to go as far as assembling your jewelry, but I wouldn't sell it for at least a week because you don't want someone to touch it and sort of maybe gouge it with their fingernail. You don't want that to happen. So now you can just turn these into jewelry links. And I'm going to open some jump rings. Always open your jump rings to the side. Never pull them open because then you can't really close them back up really good again. I like to use 2 pairs of chain nose or flat nose pliers, and I'm using rather thick gauge jump rings, so I gotta wiggle it through here. And then once it's all the way through, you're just going to use your pliers to close them back up again by squeezing them shut. This is a pretty basic jewelry making technique, just adding jump rings. And I'm going to show you how to do 2 different ways here. So to add 2 of these together, you just put jump rings into a hole on each side of your links, and then another jump ring in the middle. So when you're using jump rings to make jewelry, you've always got to pay attention to the way things lie. You don't want your jewelry to lay on your neck awkwardly or to want to twist backwards on you. If you buy jewelry from like a discount store, you could be dealing with something that wasn't made with a lot of attention to detail because the person making it was mass producing it. So one of the hallmarks of a really nice piece of handmade jewelry is that the artist making it paid attention to how the jump rings make the jewelry lie. So one of my favorite ways to do it with links like this is to put 2 links, one on each side, and then put another one in the middle. And then that way you can be assured that it's going to lay flat and it's going to be nice and strong. Sometimes it's a little bit awkward to put together because you've got to hold on to the 2 rings and the jump ring at the same time, but it's a really nice effect when you've got the 2 rings laying flat and the little ring in the middle, and then it gives you some place maybe you could dangle a gemstone or a charm in between them. So it's a nice way to assemble your jewelry. And then this one, I'm just going to use oval jump rings, which I really like because they also tend to make your jewelry have a direction. When you have an oval, you've got a bottom and a top. So here, I'm just going to put an oval on each side of this link. And then, you can attach a chain or you can bead onto it. and you've got a piece that now you can create a necklace out of just one piece. You could also make these into earrings by putting like chains or beads coming down to the jump ring and make it like a chandelier earring. So I hope you've enjoyed watching and that you'll get some Pebeo Prism paint to play with your clay. It comes in discovery sets, which are a set of 6 or 12 different colors that come in smaller bottles, so you can try them out and play with the colors and see how you like them. And it's real fun to use. So make sure that you subscribe to our channel today for more videos every single week. Check out polymerclaytv.com, where there's tons and tons of tutorials posted and where you can get the tools that I used in this project. And check out polymerclayadventure.com, which is our online retreat for polymer clay and mixed media enthusiasts, where we do have jewelry projects and wall decor and art and all kinds of fun things going on. Thanks for watching and have a great day.